welcome to Studio 5. Anchor and author Ainsley Earhart has something new to share. Filmmakers, the Kendrick Brothers, score a storytelling first with their latest movie, and we have a look back at a musical festival real close to home. But first up is this week's countdown of the top 5 stories in the world of uplifting entertainment. Here are your first 2. At number 5, it's former NBA star Shaquille O'Neal.
I got my bachelor's in 2000. But I noticed that every time I go to a business meeting, the guys who I were doing deals with would be like, "Hello, Shaq, how are you doing?" And then they would turn away and look at my lawyers and my accountants and all those guys. So I said, "Oh, you guys don't think I'm in charge. You guys don't think I understand the lingo."
Sharing the story of why he paid for more than a dozen friends to earn their master's degrees alongside him.
University of Phoenix is an online program mostly, but I went to the head officials and said, "I don't want to do it online. I want somebody to teach me in the class." And they came back and said, "Unfortunately, we can't set up a classroom for one guy. You need 15 people." So I paid for 15 of my friends to get their masters.
At number 4, great news for the film Lifemark. Theaters are extending its run because of a successful opening weekend at the box office.
Is that your birth mom? She wants to meet.
Really?
Lifemark is based on a true story that deals with an issue of choosing adoption over abortion. It's the first true story from the filmmaking Kendrick Brothers, who premiered the film here at DC's Museum of the Bible.
I think right now the message for the church is so needed about the value and beauty of adoption. Believers in their local communities, we need to be the ones that rise up and we show greater compassion than anyone else.
Lifemark began screening in 1,500 theaters. 1,100 of them have now asked to continue showing it at least another week. That begins our countdown and brings us to this week's Sit Down. She is one of the anchors you wake up to on Fox News, but she's also a best-selling author, and her latest book is written for your children. We're sitting down with Ainsley Earhart to chat about I'm So Glad You Were Born, celebrating who you are. Let me begin by asking, how's motherhood going?
I love it. It's just such a great joy. It is a wonderful blessing. But I prayed and prayed for a child, and so I just am so blessed to have her, and just grateful to God that He gave me this amazing little girl.
And she helped to inspire this latest children's book?
We just have a lot of fun together. She loves being with me. Yesterday was Chuck E. Cheese and Chick-fil-A, and then we went swimming in the pool, and then watched a movie together. She's just my little buddy. And so that's what this book is about. I'm so glad you were born. You have enhanced my world, and God is going to use you to do big things. And I think about, this is the book. I think about all the little children that, are in homes where they don't hear that message. They don't hear, "I'm so glad you were born," or they don't know the Lord, or they want to be loved and they're never hugged or never kissed or never danced with in their houses. And it could be the parents don't have time because they're trying to make money to put food on the table. Whatever the case may be, I want children to read this book and just know that God has a plan for their lives and that we are all so glad they were born.
Absolutely. Is that a message you heard growing up that you were?
I did.
Yeah, tell me about that, hearing that.
So I wrote this book because my mom always told us on our birthdays, "I'm so glad you were born." And when I got to Fox News, I would say that on air with my co-anchors when it was their birthdays, or if I was interviewing someone and it was their birthdays, I would say, "I'm so glad you were born." And the first time I said it, when I got the job on Fox and Friends, Steve Busey was my co-anchor, and I said, "Steve, I'm so glad you were born." And he just started laughing, and everyone on set started laughing. I said, "I know it sounds funny, but think about it. It's your birthday. Like, we are so grateful and glad that you were born." And so then I would say that all the time, and now my co-anchors say it whenever we're talking to someone on their birthday. And Steve's wife text messaged him during the middle of our show one day and said, "Ainsley's next children's book needs to be I'm So Glad You Were Born." And so I thought, that's such a great idea. So we did that, and here we go.
What are you hoping parents take away? Because naturally for many of these kids, it'll be their parents reading it to them.
I think for parents, just a reminder of, we get caught up in the craziness of the day or the stressfulness of our lives or whatever we're going through, the pandemic, the inflation, or it's stressful raising children, especially at the end of the day when you've worked all day and you're trying to come home and put food on the table and do homework and put them to bed. And that's a long process. And be a good Christian and read them Christian books and say prayers. It's an extremely long day for a mom or a dad. And so this is just a reminder to take a pause, to breathe, and to have fun through life and enjoy this season. And a lady told me when I was pregnant, I was on the elevator with her, and she said, I'm telling you something, the good and the bad, just remember it is all a season. The good, unfortunately, will change, but the bad is just a season too, and it's just a blip. You can get through it. So I think it's just a reminder just to sit down and realize how special our children are and how we only have them for basically 18 years to teach them and to groom them into being good stewards of our society and to be good people.
Ainsley's children's book, I'm So Glad You Were Born, Celebrating Who You Are, will be available in the coming days. Its release is scheduled for September 27th. Still ahead.
Is that your birth mom? She wants to meet.
Really?
See why the 8th film from the Kendrick Brothers is still a first. A look at Lifemark is ahead.
This summer, meet Superbook's Heroes of the Bible. 3 stories of people who fought giants, faced rulers, and stood strong for their faith, and overcame. You'll receive this special bonus pack with Gizmo Go's newest episode, Invasion of the Bug-O-Mites.
Our computer's acting buggy. Everybody, this is Rodney from IT.
I can fix this on my own.
Join the CBN Animation Club and get Gizmo Go, Invasion of the Bug-O-Mites, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. And as part of our Heroes of the Bible bonus, receive 3 additional Superbook episodes featuring the bravest people from the Bible. The Heroes of the Bible bonus includes a giant adventure, Esther, For Such a Time as This, and Roar. Join the CBN Animation Club today, and for a limited time, receive the Heroes of the Bible bonus as our way of saying thanks.
At number 3, it's a beginning and an end on Broadway. The newly restored Court Theater is now the James Earl Jones Theater, becoming the 2nd theater on the Great White Way to be named after a Black artist. And now for the Broadway Ending.
Broadway's longest-running show, Phantom of the Opera, will close in February after 35 years and more than 13,500 performances.
At number 2,
all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so good.
it's a new music video from CeCe Winans, who's nominated for 5 Dove Awards this year. The CeCe Winans Believe For It tour, and then a new book coming in November titled Believe For It, Passing on Faith to the Next Generation.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We'll continue our countdown and bring you this week's #1 story in just a little bit. We turn now to the film Lifemark. It's the inspirational true story of a young man's journey to meet his birth parents. It's the 8th film for the Kendrick Brothers, but their first true story, and Fathom Events' first 7-day premiere run to more than 1,500 theaters. It opened at number 3 and stayed in the top 5 its entire first weekend. We sat down with its star and producer, Kirk Cameron, along with the Kendrick Brothers.
Melissa, what are you going to do?
We got the call. We have a son.
Are you sure?
You want to talk to him?
I don't think he'd want to talk to me.
I know that he is 18, but why now?
Is that your birth mom? She wants to meet.
Really?
How did you come to the Lifemark story?
Kirk Cameron gives us a call, and he said, guys, you got to watch this short documentary I just saw. It grabbed my heart. It's so powerful. Stephen and I watch it. It was called I Lived on Parker Avenue, and it told the story of Melissa
in that she is 18 years old, now an unexpected pregnancy, and she's got to figure out what to do. And so she walks out of the abortion clinic, places her baby for adoption. And when David turns, I think, 19, he has a chance to meet Melissa, his biological mother.
Do you remember asking to see that when you were about 8 years old?
How old were they?
I think she was 18, and he was 17.
I honestly had no idea that this many people were wanting to adopt.
We actually have the real footage, because this really happened, of them meeting for the very first time after 19 years, and he wraps her up in this loving hug and says, thank you, thank you, thank you for my life. I love my family, and it's because of you and the brave choice that you made.
Imagine how scared she must have been. She was pregnant when she graduated, and then the decision to place you for adoption.
God, if you're there, please protect him and watch over him.
We see the scene play out in the film. What's it been like for you, real life, this reunion?
In the real life reunion was, wow. I mean, I held him once the day he was born, and then it took 19 years to be able to hug him again. So
when you held him again, what were you thinking?
How much I loved him and how grateful I was that life was chosen.
Must have been the hardest decision of her entire life.
This movie doesn't just present one person's perspective, but when you see this issue of the crisis of a potential unwanted pregnancy and what to do, you get to get into the mind and the heart of these afraid teenagers, but also you follow the journey of this child up through his life, that he loves his life.
Are you okay with people knowing that you're adopted?
Yes. I would have never thought that I would ever share the fact that I was adopted in public, yet alone be okay with a documentary and a movie. So God works in mysterious ways, and he's why I'm here today, and I'm just glad to be a part of this story and now this movie.
And I'm so glad that she made the choice that she did.
It's beautiful how that one courageous decision, when everything was against this birth mom, how it blesses so many people later on because she chose love over selfishness or discomfort.
Looking at this, think your 8th film, what's been the difficulty in getting this one out?
When we first decided to make a movie about a young woman who chose adoption over abortion, the studios that would normally distribute our films said it was a very touchy subject and that they did not want to release the film. So we prayed about it. We said, God, what would you have us do? And we felt led to go ahead and tell the story. It's a true story. It's hard to argue with a true story. So we made the film, and then the Lord opened the door to go through Fathom. So we're very grateful that even when all the doors looked like they were shut, God still opened the door He wanted us to walk through.
Where have you seen God's handprint on this project?
Oh, wow. We screened the movie to 600 people at a church. There was a gentleman there who's 32 years old. He's got tears in his eyes. He said, after watching Life Mark, the Lord said, you can do this. You can do it. He said, I'm going home right now to tell my wife I'm ready. We're going to adopt.
What if we contacted the adoption agency one more time?
We want to compassionately and lovingly say we understand both sides, but at the same time, here is a true story of what it looked like for these families. What could it look like in other scenarios?
You are an executive producer as well as one of the stars. What connected you to this story? What happened?
This movie has meaning to me on a personal level as an adoptive father, but then also it's a true story that I think the nation needs to hear at this time, being so divided over so many things.
He feels perfect.
I think Life Mark is really going to give people a new perspective about the options that are available and give them a new perspective on the preciousness and the value of life. This comes at a time where in our lifetime we never would have imagined that Roe versus Wade would be gone. And now people are trying to decide, what do we do in our state? And we're just so excited that people's hearts and minds, I think, are going to be changed when they see this true story that results in so much hope, so much life, so much inspiration and encouragement, and that it's not just an issue of a mother's decision, but it's the issue of many, many people and generations that are impacted by one choice.
Do you know what you'd say to her?
Thank you.
I have such a desire and a longing to see our families and our nation turn back to God. And He can heal our land. I don't think it's too late. And I'm hoping Life Mark is part of the equation to bring America back to a place of recognizing how far we've strayed away from God and His Word, and reviving us and bringing us back to Him.
God gave you to me and Mom as a gift, and you will always be our son.
There's more to come from LifeMark in the coming weeks, including a Bible study. Be sure to stay tuned. With that, we have made it to a fun and familiar segment in the show. It's time for this week's Studio 5 Snapshot.
We take you back to Canada and the Toronto International Film Festival, where actress Viola Davis joined the cast for a screening of her historical epic, The Woman King. The film reigned supreme at the box office this weekend, and it is directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. The drama is inspired by the true story of the Agoji, the all-female army who protected the West African kingdom of Dahomey between the 17th and 19th centuries. This story in pictures is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Just moments away, to the beauty of your ways, we prepare to say goodbye to summer and bring you one final music festival for the season.
Just looking back at when I had this dream of wanting to become an Olympian and that pursuit towards that goal, I tried to fill that with whatever I could, because I thought ultimately this would bring me happiness and joy. It was all for David's glory, all for what David wanted, and I didn't worship anyone else besides myself. My first Olympic Games, I just realized that it wasn't working. There had to be something else besides this popularity or this pleasure or this desire that I had to be rich and famous that this American dream promised me, and God has redeemed me and taken control of my life. I think God has changed me most at really wanting me to be responsible and to pursue excellence. Romans 8:28 says, God works everything for the good of those who love Him, that are called according to His purpose. And that purpose isn't for my happiness and my joy. That purpose is so that I become more like Christ.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We are diving into fall, but it's always so hard to say goodbye to summer. So we like to head back to the beach to relive the great time we had in our backyard here in Virginia Beach at this year's Sunrise Music Festival. Its founder also joined us right here in studio to help guide us through. This will be year 7?
Yes, and we're excited to be back and to bring this event to Hampton Roads.
Before we get to this year, let's go back to the beginning. What sparked the desire to do this?
I saw a vision of people worshiping at the beach, and I just thought, wow, Lord, I said, oh my gosh, that would be so awesome.
So we fast forward now, 2022,
Yeah.
Sunrise returns. What's that process been like?
It hasn't been easy, but I praise the Lord for great sponsors like the Christian Broadcasting Network, Regent University, just absolutely yes, how can we help, what can we do? So it involves a lot of private donations, it involves a lot of sponsors and community, and we're so blessed to have a great community. We want to reflect what it's going to look like in heaven. And I think Sunrise does that, and we're so grateful to have the opportunity. I love to sit back in the back of the venue and see people worshiping, and just seeing people have a great time with their family. So it's a family-friendly event.
Who will we see? What will we hear?
Josiah, a new up-and-coming artist who is charting on Billboard, and Titus Showers.
So we're sitting down with you, Virginia Beach. What's it like to be in worship on the beach?
Wow, indeed, it's a blessing. It's a dream come true. All of God's people getting together on one accord, and I'm just so excited that I'm able to be a part of it.
Abby Robertson, a local favorite, who's now a national artist. Phil Joel, who used to be with the Newsboys.
Does this feel anything like your Live in the Backyard project?
That's you. No, I love being on the beach. You know, I mean, I come from 2 little islands in the South Pacific, and well, they're not so little, but they're islands, and so being by the water makes me feel at home.
Stephen Malcolm, a young and up-and-coming Christian rapper.
Stephen Malcolm is a young, biracial kid from the Midwest. I raised myself, bro, and that was my life, bro. And then everybody, you know, around me was like, you should come check out this hip-hop church. And it was the first time, bro, I seen young black and brown people that look like me, dress like me, talk like me. But bro, they're worshiping Jesus, bro.
Vertical worship. Chris Tomlin.
So I got airplanes going over us, and it's gonna be an amazing night of worship here at Virginia Beach.
We're here for one reason, and that is to give him praise, the name above every name, to lift him high and high.
What are you looking forward to after this? Naturally, there'll be an 8th. You got some ideas floating, anything new?
Well, Lord willing, we can book that headliner right away. It takes a whole year to plan this event. It's a huge event, a huge undertaking, but we love it. You know that old saying, do something that you love and it won't feel like work? Absolutely, that's what it feels like. We work hard and long hours, but we love it.
Well, I love the heart of this, just for the whole area, just people hearing the good news of Jesus.
There's one thing we want you to leave here knowing tonight is that God loves you now, He always has, and He always will.
Chris Tomlin headlined this year's Sunrise Festival. You'll be able to catch him alongside Erica Campbell next month as they co-host the 53rd Annual Dove Awards. And he hits the road on tour following that. Well, with that, we have made it to this week's final story in the countdown of uplifting entertainment news. Here's what's finishing on top this week.
At number 1. We head to Canada and hit the red carpet with Oprah Winfrey at the Toronto International Film Festival for the premiere of Sydney, which streams to Apple TV Friday.
I left the Bahamas with this sense of myself. And from the time I got off the boat, America began to say to me, you're not who you think you are.
Winfrey teamed up with director Reginald Hudlin to produce the documentary, honoring the life and legacy of the groundbreaking actor.
One of the most profound stories about who he is and why he is who he is early in the film when you hear that he was completely broke, was a dishwasher, was expecting his first child, Pamela, and had an offer for a film that was going to pay him more money than he'd ever made in his life, and he turned it down because the character didn't have the integrity that he knew his father would want him representing.
Many celebrities were on hand for this first showing, including Poitier's daughters, who shared their picks for their favorite work from their father.
Band of Angels with Clark Gable. A lot of people do not know about that movie. A Raisin in the Sun with Ruby Dee, and Buck and the Preacher with Harry Belafonte. Those are my favorites.
I'm gonna go with the classic In the Heat of the Night. Yeah. For me, it was To Serve with Love and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
She took it right out of my mouth. To Serve with Love.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. For me, it's the same with Pam. Buck and the Preacher and Raisin in the Sun.
Charlie Atkins was a good for nothing loudmouth too, wasn't he? When he wanted me to go in the dry cleaning business with him. Now he's grossing $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. Still call him a loudmouth good for nothing.
Welcome back to Studio 5. Music fuels this show every week, and there's a new voice on repeat in my ear these days. It's the jazz stylings of Samara Joy. Take a listen and you'll hear why her take on solitude is what's playing in my ear.
So sad, with gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I'll soon go mad in my solitude.
For more from Samara Joy, be sure to check out her self-titled debut project, and she's got a new CD dropping in November. It's called Linger a While. On that musical note, we are nearly out of time for this edition of Studio 5, so let's take just a moment and look ahead to see what's coming up on next week's show. Check this out.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Actor, author, producer, and youth pastor Kel Mitchell takes a seat in Studio 5.
I can't let you go without asking, because I'm hearing buzz. Is there another Good Burger coming? Are we going to see something happening? Your partner in crime seems to be hinting something's coming.
With new projects and a look at the future for Ed and Dexter after all these years.
Look at you trying to get that exclusive. I'm actually seeing him later today. He's hosting the Emmy,
yes.
So that's super cool. But okay, I'll say this, okay? Good Burger is always open, and we're open for deliveries right now.
Okay. Please make time to join us for that story and so much more next week. Before we say goodbye this week, let's return to our sit-down guest for a final word. Here's Ainsley Earhart. If you could go back in time and speak to that little girl in you, what advice would you give her?
I would say you have all these plans for your life, and follow Jesus, and he will grant you all of your desires, which he has. There will be a lot of downs, but more ups, and just enjoy the ride and serve the Lord and bring as many people to Christ as you can.
Ainsley, thank you. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.